right, so I'm excited to introduce Vincent A. Lanci. So, Vincent is driven by a passion for helping others transform their lives, normalizing conversations around mental health. He is a best-selling author, founder of the Coming Alive podcast production company, and he's here to talk about his life and mission following a near-death experience in what is a dramatic yet empowering healing journey. We connected on social media. We've yet to meet in person, but I hope to someday because I feel like I've met a friend on this, journey that we're doing together. So, Vincent, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to everyone in Danielle's following.
All right, so you have a robust life and career. I was trying to follow it all, but you have a lot happening. Tell us briefly about yourself and the work that you're currently doing.
I was originally from New York. I wanted to trade my snowflakes for palm trees very much. I was a young entrepreneur in the way of shoveling driveways. I saw it as an opportunity to make some money as a kid, but most of my family is in Florida as far as aunts, uncles, and cousins, so it made some sense to make the switch. Led me through University of Tampa, did my finance degree, did my MBA, but the way life works out, sometimes things change, and I find myself in different fields now, podcasting and writing books.
Wow. Okay. So I want to talk about a very specific event in your life, and this changed the trajectory of your life. So you were hit by a drunk driver who fled the scene, which blew my mind when I read that. So tell a little bit about what your life was like before and then what happened after.
Yes, it was a time that feels like yesterday in some pieces, but now is over 10 years ago, a few days before, which should have been my last semester as an undergraduate. I walked home, the safe thing to do. And on that safe route home, I ended up not making it home from where I was hit by the car as I was finishing getting into that sidewalk lane bicycle area. Hit me from behind. The police officer at a neighboring DUI checkpoint, coincidentally across the street from where I was hit, said my body went as high as a basketball hoop, but landed on my face. It was all purple in the
Oh,
past. If you see
yeah.
early pictures, I clothes came off because of the impact. And from there, I woke up about a week later out of a coma, confused when the nurse asked my name for the first time, what school I went to. I knew my name, but I said Pulaski Road Elementary School as which school I went to. So going
Yeah.
back as a kindergartner, but I'm 21 years old studying finance, all because life, right? Someone I never met made a decision that's going to affect me and my family forever. You sit and sulk or you try to make something positive come out of it.
Yeah.
So that's where I started sharing my story a bit, volunteering in brain injury support groups with Tampa General Hospital, where I went
Yeah.
to start evolving, sharing my story in the community. Oh, you should write a book, you should write a book, write a book. And then you do that. I just never thought that fast forward now we're at 8 books without ghostwriting and book coaching. It's a form of therapy, I think.
Yeah.
Beneath all the surface is why I'm so drawn to continuing to write. But again, from the book to the podcast, wanted to share my story on a solopreneur's budget, but I wanted to make an impact with what I was doing, my story, my experiences, and then networking with people like you,
Yeah.
coming on my shows with common interests, common goals, and ultimately help the audience out, improve a little bit.
Yeah. And what was so amazing in your book at the very beginning, you're like, I need to get this on paper because who the heck knows if this is going to stay, right? So did the memories come back little by little? Did they come flooding back?
Short-term memory has certainly improved, but it's always been a hinder, I guess you could say. I did my TED talk that's coming out soon on this. I had to retrain my brain to read, write, type, and listen repeatedly. And because I couldn't grasp it, I would spend
Yeah.
hours and hours trying to retain a small amount of what I probably would have been able to retain with a
Yeah.
full brain. I went back to get my MBA just after summer classes for my finance degree. They said you may need 24/7 aid for life. You may never go back to school, whatever. I looked at it all as I'm not going to let that happen, right? It's not going to let it affect me. So I started just beating these self-imposed goals and shattering timelines, but it just happened so fast. You get to grad school, three C's, you're dropped. No questions asked, and now I have a short-term memory problem.
Oh,
I had to develop this whole system of how am I going to do it. I learned without trying to solve a certain puzzle, just read, write, type, listen,
yeah.
using all of these different learning modalities when in general, the masses were accustomed to our strongest learning style. We read, we write, we listen. That's how we do it. No, I had to tap into each of these, and now I still retain and receive and learn information like this because it helps. I'm not a big audiobook guy. I learn better seeing it, visualizing it,
Yeah.
because then I can read it out loud in my head. I read the word out loud when I see it on the page. And then if I'm doing notes, like for that book I
Yeah.
just shared behind the scenes, I
Yeah.
type up a study guide after. So now it's a manual from that book. What good is the book if we never refer to it? So I'm trying to hold myself accountable, the career nerd, career student, giving myself more homework,
Yeah.
but it's starting to really pay off.
Yeah. And what amazing determination, because the physical recovery, the emotional impact of what happened, and then what you've just said, that extra layer of having to relearn everything. I could see a lot of people saying, nope, I give up. But you had that determination and that grit. What are some tools that kept you going?
The power of family and support is real and friends where
Yeah.
I mean, with a brain injury, you can't separate dreams from reality. And I'll share
Ah,
a quick
wow.
story where I must have seen something on TV and I thought James Harden was with me. It happened again with Jerry Buss, the Lakers owner, where I have vivid memories with these people that never happened. I could still talk about
Yeah.
what we did in this dream that I thought was reality. I thought I was in the movie Silence of the Lambs, one of the
Ooh,
scarier parts during my recovery. And I
yeah.
taught in the book that you read, it's on a locker room style shower room on a plastic bench, and someone's showering me because I can't walk. And I started to see red come out of the drains, and I thought I was in that movie.
Yeah.
Definitely a weird situation to reflect on because at the time you're going through it, it's very intense. I'm in a room at one point with eight different severe patients of whatever, where they're monitoring us very closely.
Yeah.
Someone's talking to the wall. Everybody's on different sleeping schedules. So you're just really thinking this is reality. It's hard to see what's happening next because I didn't even have a release date. With a brain injury, some things are day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, and now I'm learning decade to decade. So
Yeah.
there was no calendar next to me. I'm going home this day, checking off the boxes. I know I got a few days notice and that was just it. I was out of there and I just never looked back. I flew home,
So,
snow up to the back doors. It was
mm.
probably 80 something in Florida. I got home, the thermometer switched, excuse me, said this isn't going to be it. So I was just determined to not let someone else's bad decision ruin my life forever. There was
Yeah.
just too much. You work for finance isn't one of the hardest degrees, maybe for some, but for me, it wasn't easy. You bust your butt in these classes, you finally get to
Yeah.
graduation, but that opportunity was robbed. I was able to walk on time. A big thank you to University of Tampa. But gee, it was a rough few years, especially trying to be a person and relearn life and then go to school at a master level. And not
Yeah.
only pass, you have to get at least a B. But it shaped me from now, like I said with the TED Talk, all of these things I learned, these routines, they've stuck with me, and I've just relied on them to continue to grow every day.
Yeah. And to be able to go with that uncertainty, like, I don't know when I'm getting out of the hospital. I don't know if and when I'm gonna, like, you decided you were getting better. That was a conscious decision. But not knowing the if, the when, you break something, they'll say, oh, it's 6 weeks recovery. For you, it's like, I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Um, so I'm curious about with the dreams and reality. Do you dream now? And when do you have dreams, can you differentiate between reality?
Yeah, when I dream, I 100% know it's a dream now. I don't always dream though. Sometimes I just sleep right through the night, and it was
Yeah.
like that for a while after the accident where um I didn't remember the dreams at all, no matter what they were. It
Yeah.
was just
Okay.
didn't, but it's a minor price to pay for being alive, and it was a scary touch and go situation. The real motivating factor to allude back to what you said before,
Yeah.
my mom and dad got a call at 3, 4 in the morning from a Tampa police officer, something along the lines of, "Hey, if your son's Vincent, you need to get down to Tampa immediately. He may not make it through the night.
Wow.
So that memory of them having to fly to Fort Lauderdale because there was no direct flights, check in with the hospital to make sure I was still alive, then go from Lauderdale to Tampa on a flight.
Oh, yeah.
Those memories really served as a motivating fuel where I didn't maybe think about it all the time, but it was just fueling me like, okay, this really is a second lease. Let's find some purpose with it, still enjoy life, still be a person. But it just led me to wanting more and more in life because I didn't know if life would be with me anymore. I didn't know if I would be alive.
Yeah.
Like many entrepreneurs, you just get to perfectionism, then you become a recovering perfectionist. Then it's just sticking to the mission, sticking to the goals. I didn't feel the need to rush anything or do much because I didn't have a budget really. It was just I got to take this slow and
Yeah.
see what happens.
So what do you want people to understand about traumatic brain injury? Because I'm talking to you, you look healthy, you look fine. Like I would never know if you didn't tell me. So what do you want people to understand?
It's interesting you say that. When I went to court for everything, which side note, I got awarded a ton of money and I got hit by a car by someone who didn't have insurance or any money to pay anything. So I was told maybe you shouldn't speak in court because you sound well spoken, but I also, on the flip side, I worked very hard to speak this way. I read a ton of books. I'm always practicing reading, which sounds silly, but I'm always doing things I know I need to do.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't even have to speak. The guy didn't even show up to the appearance, and it
Yeah.
is it is. But you either sit and sulk again, or you use this as motivation. Like, okay, I don't need your money. I just want my life to some normality, which will never come. The new norm is the new norm.
Yeah.
It's over 10 years now. It is what it is. What's recovered is recovered. I've got a rod in my leg with a few bolts in the top and the bottom. Does that get repaired or removed at some point? I don't know. I hope not. But he's not going to be paying for it, right? It's going to be me paying for it. So now it comes down to not sulking on it, not thinking about it, doing what I can. I can't run. He took that away from me because of the impact with
Yeah.
the cement, but I love to bike. It's getting a little cold here for us Floridians now. I got the indoor bike here, so I'm still holding myself accountable to these goals. And um, fitness goals are important to me big time because it's not just professional goals. You got your health, you got your health and fitness, your social, your professional, everything.
Yeah. So this kind of shaped your work as a mental health advocate. So can you talk a little bit about how you're using the experience? So it's kind of redefined how you look at life, your purpose, yourself, and like what's really important.
You have to reevaluate everything. I was very focused on getting this corner office with the job title and being in this finance position until I got my first couple tastes of it. I was with
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then at a bank. Money didn't equate to happiness the way I thought it would. Having my own money and making a lot of it, I'm sitting in traffic 2 hours away each way. I'm losing, that's 4 hours a day, right? I'm doing all of these things where I'm at a job, I'm given a few tasks and I feel underutilized. So I don't feel, I feel unfulfilled, excuse me. A lot needed to change. So I took that very challenging 1 foot in, 1 foot out after many years of teetering back and forth, started writing Left for Dead more seriously, like putting it together, and had to still make money. I had bills. I would teach English to kids in Beijing, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, because they're on the opposite time zone, for only $10 a 30-minute class if you hit like 30 or 40 a month. So I was determined on doing that.
Yeah.
I would go be a helper for construction. I can't do much, but just like a labor helper.
Yeah.
And then I would go be a busboy at night at a restaurant. So I'm
Wow.
someone with, at this point, like 27, 28 with an MBA, finance degree, but back to being a busboy. So it really humbles you in the way that there is no one better or worse for money or what you do in society. It's like, okay, let's go do what I have to do. But a lot of people from that entrepreneur show I learned they were surrounding themselves with other entrepreneurs, but people who quit. It got too hard, they quit. Like this game is not going to be easy. You're going to fail forever. You're going to fail more than you're not going to fail. You're going to be rejected more than you're going to be approved for a sales call or an outreach or whatever. Most things aren't going to go your way. And I learned that in my accident very much so. And it built up this resilience and perseverance. I'm now, I guess, parlaying into the business world where now it's like, okay, keep working hard, keep doing the little things that you don't want to do, but they will pay off. And in entrepreneurship, I was told by a good mentor of mine that, hey, it's going to take you 10 years before you really figure any more of it out than you want to. And now I spoke for my MBA commencement in 2015.
Yeah.
And now, end of 2024, the last 18 months is when I really started to find consistent income and not just scattered. And I'm speaking once in a, whatever.
Yeah.
But it took all those years. But through the accident, I learned the hard way. It's going to
Yeah.
take time. And I think that's why I have so much patience with entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and like you said, the humility, like I'm going to do what it takes. I'm not going to say, oh, this is beneath me. It's like I need to make money. I need to get out there. The determination to not give up, or what they call in positive psychology is the grit that separates you, and to not and to stay emotionally healthy. I mean, I that had to have. Did you ever have a time where you went through any depression, or you're like, I'm too busy trying to recover to even go down that path?
Well, I think I was always a little anxious. Anxiety is a big factor in my life. I've just found ways to mitigate it and work with it without pills. I would ever get to the experience like you may be depressed, maybe this, maybe that. I'm on like, 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah.
Somehow I wisened up maybe, I don't know, 2 years after, and I was like, I'll be on this stuff forever. If I take this for a bunch of years, I'll get hooked on it. Like Klonopin was one before bed. Yeah, you sleep real well. Then you try not sleeping on Klonopin, right? And then you're like, you're up. So I just had this firm stance. I've got a really great, I guess it's well, who does your physicals? General practitioner, I
Yeah.
think the
Yeah.
word is. That is on my page where like, all right, you did all this work without any of it. You don't need Vyvanse, you don't
Yeah.
need Adderall, you don't need like you can do these things. But I also, exercise is a huge thing. It's time blocked on my schedule every day. I
Yeah.
take walks throughout the day. I try to have my podcast so that way I
Yeah.
have that social interaction.
Yeah.
As you know, you work for yourself, you're alone a lot. You need to find someone to talk things through with and just talk to things about with. You keep it all bottled in, that's when things get scary. It's when things get
Yeah.
real. So you got to just know everybody is different. So know your body and when you're approaching that point. And that's for me, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
close the computer, set a 30-minute timer. I got to go walk it off.
Yeah.
Got to go take a bike ride. I got to do something. But exercise isn't for everyone. Sometimes it's journaling. Reading does it for me too, but
Yeah.
I'm a morning reader. I have my morning reading goals of at least 15 pages, and that's the only way I get through books.
And everything you've identified are all the keys to what people need to for emotional stability, for a happy life. The exercise, getting outside, getting out in nature, the social connection, the journaling, getting out of your head on paper. So you've got all the tools, and you don't just keep them inside, you share them with others. So you have some children's books and you do some work with kids. Can you tell a little bit about that?
That was the first push after the accident. I did Left for Dead, The Story of Redemption, which is a look at my life through the hospital stay with my mom's journal of things I said, did, ate, ridiculous stuff. And then it ends, I guess I won't tell you where it ends. I'll have to let you go check.
Okay.
But at a point in my life where I put that there, I wrote a ebook for working remote before COVID, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Terrible marketing job at it, terrible cover from when I did it all on my own, so it doesn't do as well as it should have. But it's there, the content's great. It's like stuff I'm talking about today. But then I started talking about mental health a bit. COVID came. I
Yeah.
came out with Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, the one with my face on it. That's a book for older students and adult. It's a 7-day workbook. You can read it at once or you can do it one day at a time. And there's reflection activities. There's things to get you through the day
Yeah.
while you have to be home. It has some excerpts about the topics with that expert, me and 6 other mental health experts, cold networking, reaching out to experts out there,
Yeah.
getting some qualified folks and friends in the book. We talk about a bunch of cool stuff, have some activities in there. I said, this is great, but we got to help the kids too. So then I wrote the orange one, or they're all a tone of yellow. My grandma's favorite color was yellow. So all my podcasts, my books, they have that yellowish tone.
Yeah.
That's for elementary school kids. I am a teacher, and I take the kids on a mental health week field trip to end the school year where we have a
Oh,
magic track similar to the magic school bus because we walk because it's good for our mental health. We have all these fun activities in there meant for the classroom or with a guardian to do the brain checks and the mental health stops to talk about some of the stuff in the reading. And then for other kids, I got the toddler book too. Going to School, the official book for learning how to read, learning how to do everything. This book was humbling because I took a Spanish tutor and I tried to learn Spanish and I thought it'd be a piece of cake. I took Italian. Your brain doesn't sponge up information like you did when as a kid. So I took this book and it talks about things we do before school, at school, and after school. So
Yeah.
waking up, brushing our teeth, at school, doing whatever, and I have it in English and Spanish with a prompt on each page
Nice.
because I want people to bring mental health into the household, bring good, because it starts at home, right? I'm a substitute teacher, or I was, I should say, as a part-time hustle. It's like a big daycare now. Parents drop their kids off, and that's just it. They expect you to raise them. Not all, but the majority I was with, I'm getting cursed at this and that. And like I
Wow.
told the principal at one school, they said, quote, Vincent, we have bigger things going on. I said allowing the curses is just breeding more bad behavior, but whatever, not my field, not my specialty. I don't have much value to
Wow.
expertisely add. So I want to do my part with the books. I wanted to be a school speaker with them. No budgets after COVID, no manpower,
Mm,
no one to help me organize the assembly. Even as a sub, never was at school when there was assembly, which is sad for the kids. Realize I have to pivot. So I still volunteer my time and I get paid from time to time to bring books into classrooms.
yeah.
I do
Yeah.
sponsor a classrooms since the schools have no budgets. Maybe someone out here, if you want to give back, we buy books and bring, if you're a food vendor, we bring your food to the classroom. If you're clothing, we bring some shirts for the kids. We try to just sponsor the classroom
Yeah.
to bring the assembly. But again, not the best marketer. I was never a comfortable sales guy. It just wasn't for me. I was never good. I felt uncomfortable. So we're working on that. That's why now we have a sales team.
Yeah, which is funny because you're one of the first, like, you reached out to me on LinkedIn, and usually I don't respond. And there was something about your approach, I don't know, that I was like, oh, he seems cool. So whatever you're doing right. And I think it's so important. I wish that your books were available like when I was a kid, because my experience in
Yeah.
elementary school was not a good one. I got bullied a lot. I was a nervous kid. I would have liked to have those tools, at a time when we didn't talk about mental health. That was a stigma. And I'm so glad in this time in history that that stigma is kind of going away and you're doing so much to support kids and adults. I'll make sure to have a link to all how to get in touch with you in this episode. So if people want to support your work, they can.
Yeah.
And now you also present to adults as well. You mentioned the TED Talk.
Yeah. So really interesting TED journey. I was accepted for a TED Talk after working with a coach here in no, it wasn't in Riverview, Florida. It was going to be in Wesley Chapel, Florida, which is
Okay.
over here in Tampa. Whatever, we get selected. I have a meeting with the organizer. She's how busy she is. She's talking this, that, whatever. We're actually on LinkedIn, so we're following each other's updates. I'm not on there often, but when I go on there, whatever, I'll see it. She said, "Oh, in our meeting, I'm very overwhelmed. Would you mind helping me organize, hold the binder at the event, help direct people?" I say, "Whatever, cool. That's fine." We get an email, and this is supposed to be December TEDx talk, last holiday season, about 3 weeks before. Hey, it's not a good time to throw an event. This political reason, this, that, whatever. My people book flights and fly to do TED Talks, so this wasn't right. We're on LinkedIn. She had like a career change, all these things,
Yeah.
very busy. Didn't sit right with me. Excuse me. I didn't give up. I had submitted a bunch, rejected, 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 got accepted to one that is the COVID TEDx series where they started doing virtual talks to keep, I guess, the name brand alive during
Yeah.
the break. The I followed up a few times. I'm still waiting for the release. I haven't seen it put out yet, so I'm waiting. I started speaking with adults before kids, of course, sharing my story. I realized, yes, while my story is helpful to, I think, everybody for different reasons, depending
Yeah.
on if male, female, older, younger, my biggest impact can be made with students. That's that niche, right? I think that hearing from a college kid about what I went through opposed to talking down about being an adult, what this, that. We were all kids. We had assemblies. What do we pay attention to? Who were we receptive to? So I have a lot of success in the classroom by making it clear. I usually today I'm wearing the Jets hat because I want to be inspirational, inspire everybody not to give up. But I'll wear, sports tees or hats in the classroom after you used to wear polos and stuff because how does that play out with my audience? The audience is kids. They want to
Yeah.
feel fun and happy. So I wear the sports gear. Someone usually makes a Jets joke or one of my teams that's losing, and it opens it up for me to talk more serious things about mental health.
Yeah. And I just have one serious question to ask because I do want to talk about your book. I want to start a podcast and I'll leave time for that. Um, the hardest thing for me to wrap my brain around in The Left for Dead was the lack of remorse from the person who hit you. So my question is, how do you find forgiveness or how do you get over the anger? Because that's got to affect you very deeply.
It does in mysterious ways. So I haven't read that book in so long. I'm not sure what was in there, but for everyone who didn't read it, I do encourage you to check it out. I'm
Yeah.
not going to plug myself too hard, but if you like what I'm talking about, check it out. In the state of Florida, you can try to get off house arrest every 6 months or at the time. This guy did it, I think, 3.5 years, every 6 months, never apologized once. I'm talking to the judge and I say my piece. He doesn't speak, I think, ever. He might have. I can't, that part I can't be certain because his lawyer did most of the heavy lifting. 3.5 years go by. I'm like, listen, man. I'm like, I still haven't gotten an apology to the judge. I'm like, I would have found a way to move past this because people make mistakes in life. It sucks to happen to me, but
Yeah.
it happened. Oh, we apologized, a while ago. I said, no, you didn't. Like, whatever. Like, our lawyer tried getting in touch with you. Said, we're here every 6 months. I've got to look my near killer in the eye every 6 months, lie to me,
Yeah.
right? And then move forward like nothing happened. It was a big hurt, I think. And that way, in the future after the accident, when people in my life who were close to me may have let me down for an array of reasons, whether intentional or not, whatever, I have a deep pain from being let down because this whole case was a letdown. This guy didn't go to jail. This guy, I guess, will never pay me because he doesn't have the means to even garnish his wages. When I had my lawyer and stuff, like it just cool, you're owed a bunch of money and it's good for 20, 30, whatever. But
Yeah.
what's going to change or I'm going to get anything? And money will never equate to this being okay. But I lost years of my life. My family lost a lot of their lives. My mom was with me for the whole time I'm in the hospital. There was a lot of sacrifice by my family, my friends. So I'll use this time now to just shout everybody who's in my corner out. You're appreciated from small role to large role, whether we talk anymore or we don't, because we're busy. I do appreciate you. A lot of people still make time to keep in touch with me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And now it's just all in with what I'm doing. I'm connecting with people like you again through LinkedIn and everyone. You don't gotta be all salesy from the jump, right? And LinkedIn, I'm looking to connect with people who are like-minded. And one of the ways I'm like-minded, because from there, it may not be like a sale, but you have this new friendship relationship where
Yeah.
we're going to try to help each other grow, bring each other on our pods every 6 months. We're going to try to keep the word out. We know what each other does. So now we can be a resource to one another. So it's
Yeah.
a challenge to everyone is there. I try to connect with a few people on LinkedIn every day. Um, Granted, I use that more than other prospecting things, but I need to be better and I will be better. But definitely use LinkedIn. Don't be shy. If you're looking for a real connection, not everybody, but a lot of people will answer because if you do chat, she's helped me grow my business. I hope some of the advice I've given
Yeah.
her has helped her as well. And that's what it's all about, connecting with each other, sharing stories, and helping other people on their journeys because it always seems harder when you're blinded by your own light.
Well, I tell you what, before we close, I want to give a mention to I Want to Start a Podcast, your newest book. Without giving away too
Thank
many
you.
spoilers, can you give like a little takeaway to somebody watching this who maybe wants to start a podcast, but they're kind of hesitant?
I would love to. I'll grab it real quick here. I want to start a podcast, was in the works for like 2 years, and life gets in the way. I'm ghostwriting. I'm trying to start my company into
Yeah.
a new umbrella part from the speaking and the books. Now we're doing podcast production. Had to get it out because not everybody, like me with my learning discovery, not everybody wants to learn via book. Not everybody wants to learn via course. Not everybody wants to learn via podcast. So I kind of created them all. I want to start a podcast is the official launch book. I bootstrapped. I wore every hat. I failed every step of the way. So we take it down step by step
Yeah.
into this workbook. As you can see, there's activities
Oh,
throughout the book.
nice.
We start in the pre-production phase, not just your name and your cover art. There's a lot that goes on before you launch the show. Then the production phase, then the post-production. I give you 11 ways to grow the show after when you're done. Very, very grateful for Debbie, my good friend, host of the Business of Life Masterclass podcast. She had some nice things to say about this book. If you're looking for a book, it's a cheap price point. $20 is just a staple for books, I guess, nowadays when I was looking. So that's up there. But if you don't want to pay anything and still want to start a podcast, coaching isn't for you. You're not in the budget. You want to do it on your own. I get it. Those both things happen to me. Pod O'Clock every Monday. I teach how to start a podcast, grow a podcast, and guest on a podcast. Solo shows mixed with shows with founders and hosts of their own shows. But on that show, we go through the 8-step process. This book's got my 8 steps that I use in my coaching. And
Mhm.
on the podcast, each solo show will be step 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8. I want to make podcasting accessible and easy for everyone. It was hard for me in 2019. This wasn't really popularized, I guess you could say. It was getting there.
Yeah.
But through hundreds and hundreds of great conversations, all leading me here today to connect with your audience. I couldn't be more grateful for everyone who's let me share my story on a podcast, has purchased a book, or is one of my clients. It's an honor to help play a small, small role in your journey to get your message out there. You don't have to use me, but do something to get your book out there, your podcast out there. Everyone's an expert at something, or
Yeah.
you've got value to add in something. Just go out there. Start putting some notes in a Word or Pages document on your computer. You can copy and paste, move them around later. Just get it out of your brain, get it on paper.
Yep.
The world's going to be yours. Books and podcasts changed my life. It gave me a career that I didn't ever anticipate from having no plans when I wrote my book, just to share my story.
Yeah.
So if that inspires you, please connect with me, reach out to me. I'm vincentalanci.com, coming alive podcast production.com. If you want a signed book, or you want some kind of book from me for being on the show, let me know. I'm happy to sign any book order.
Oh, I
Ha-
will order your book.
Thank you
I want
very
to
much.
read it so I can say, oh yeah, these are some things I'm not doing. And then I also want to be like, oh yeah, I wish I had known that 5 years ago. I wish this because when I started, there was, as you said, failed a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you would have saved me some time. So I'd be like, yeah, I should have done it this way. But I know there's going to be some great nuggets of wisdom that I can learn from. So I will definitely get a copy. I'll also have all the information on how people can get in touch with you in the description of this episode. Vincent, you're inspiring. I learned so much from you, and thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, and to everyone viewing on, thank you for supporting Danielle. Keep supporting her. She's a rock star. And again, thank you. My name is Vincent A. Lanci. If this book does inspire you and you want a free chapter, if that would make some happiness for you, just let me know. Email me info@vincentalanci.com. I'm happy to get you started on your podcasting journey from there. I hope you're able to do it all on your own. My goal is to put myself out of business, and you may have heard that before from other people, but for me, if you don't need coaching, right? If you can, all my clients get this book because it's our onboarding process. But with our strategy coach, because we got to make sure you're up to date, I want you to do it on your own. You get through the book, you start listening to Pot O'Clock, you're like, okay, let's get started.
Yeah.
Then you may need one coaching call at some point. That's amazing. But I want to encourage you to do what I did. You're a solopreneur out there who needs to find a way to grow your business. Just get started. I hate, and I don't use that word often, hate the way I sound in my early episodes. They're not deleted because I use them as a gauge, tracker. Go listen to my first show, everyone. I sound scripted, robotic, terrible in every way, but we made it happen. Thank you
Vincent,
so much.
oh, thank you.